Hi, I'm Tim,
I'm Lizzie.
and we are To Play,
Or not.
To Play, a show about board games for two players.
Whose tastes may differ. Today we're looking at Carpe Diem. Seize the day, people.
Seize the day.
We're very excited about this review, aren't we?
We are.
We're very excited.
Ancient Rome.
Because we love ancient Rome and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2 to 4 player game produced by Elia and designed by Stefan Feld. It's card drafting and tile laying, which is always good. We love a bit of that.
Yeah.
And it's all about the prestige points.
Prestige points is what you're after, really, yeah. So the game plays in a couple of different ways. Yeah, there are two main phases to the game. One is a tile drafting phase, where you build your little city area, and the other one is a forum phase where there are cards laid out and you can claim those cards for scoring opportunities. So we'll try and simplify the way that the game plays out, because it's quite confusing in a way, but it's not. It's very simple once you start playing.
It's one of these games for me that the rules are like, what?
Yeah.
But once you start playing, it makes perfect sense, and it's actually not overwhelming at all when you start
absolutely.
to play it.
So the
So
game,
bear with.
Yeah. So the game starts with you just building your little section first. So you've got this main board, which you then surround with this kind of manufactured, like a little jigsaw sort of area around the outside, and that helps you score points later on. So that is random, which is quite nice. So the game's different every time. And
you've got different boards as well, which is a nice thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Different from each other.
Yeah, so they are laid out in a different way. And on that board, basically, there's a little shovel, which is basically where you start your tile laying. So you have to lay your first tile on the shovel. And then the other little things are little scrolls, and they are prestige points in a way. So when you cover those scrolls with tiles, you can then claim prestige points on the prestige track. So again, like I say, it sounds confusing, but it's not. So in the first phase, you've got all these tiles laid out on the main board, and you place your main leader, your patrician, you place him on one of these little sections.
The guy in the toga, basically.
Yeah. You place him on one of the sections, and then you move one way or the other one space and claim one of the 4 tiles that are there. The amount of tiles vary depending on how many players there are. In a 2-player game, they don't vary how many tiles there are. There's always 4 in each section. But it varies how many you
can take.
Yeah, how many you take, because once in a 2-player game, once you've taken 2 of those 4 tiles, you then take all the rest away. Yeah. And it's different in a 3 and a 4-player game. But so in a 2-player game, you move on to a space, you take one of the tiles, and then you place that on your board with a view to building complete either gardens or vineyards or buildings or whatever. Lots of different types of things, and they score you different points depending on what they are.
What type of building they are.
Or they give you different goods and things like that. So
for example, a chicken run gives you a chicken.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you put 2 pieces of a little chicken run together, you get 1 chicken. If you put 3 pieces, if you put 3 pieces of a chicken run together, you get 2 chickens, and so on. So, and if you complete a bakery, which is 2 halves of a bakery, if you complete one of those, you get a piece of bread, or a loaf of bread. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, you move your person 1, take a tile, build your thing, and then the next person goes, they move their patrician 1, take a tile, build their area, and you move 1 either way, take the tile, and so on. And if you can't move to one side because there's no tiles, so as I say, once 2 tiles have been taken, you take the rest away and it's empty, then you just kind of bypass that section, so it kind of just becomes invisible, if you like. So you carry on moving past that, or you go the other way, and you keep going until all the tiles are taken, and at this point you do a scoring phase. So it's basically you move into the forum, basically. So how that works is you've got all these cards laid out, and again they're slightly different in a 2, 3, 4-player game. So they're laid out like this in a 2-player game, and you take one of your little counters and you place it in a slot which is adjacent to 2 cards. So you can either be between 2 cards horizontally or between 2 cards vertically, and you claim the action that those 2 cards
you're claiming those 2 cards
showing.
For yourself.
Yeah, so it might say, for instance, if you've got this completed building, then you claim 2 gold, or if you've got
this many
4
chickens.
4 chickens, then you claim this amount of bread or gold or whatever. So there's various different scoring things, and they are dependent on where you place this counter. But when you place this counter, that is then gone for the rest of the game. So you score it there and then, but it's gone for everyone else and for you for the rest of the game. So once you've scored that little section, then you repopulate the tiles on the other section, and you play that whole thing again. You move your partitions, you build your tiles.
It's 3 rounds of those tiles, isn't it?
There's
three
they're different white tiles and white backed tiles and black backed tiles. Yeah, and you do 3 of white and then one of black. I think there's just a slightly different emphasis towards a certain type of building on the black tiles.
We did wonder why one of the black at the end, but they all seem to have like the ends of
buildings.
It
was like finishing that's right.
City.
So it's quite a good idea, I guess, that you can kind of complete your open-ended bits and stuff in the last round. So you to play a tile laying section, and then you go back to another forum section. So you take a second of your little counters and you place that on another adjacent couple of cards, and again that's you for that go, and then it's dead for you and everyone else for the rest of the game. That was a bit confusing when we played this. We thought you kind of did this forum section all in one go, all of your counters, but you just do one counter per round, basically.
Yeah, it's basically 4 rounds, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So it's a tile laying session, then a forum session, tile laying session, forum session, and so on. And obviously, you got to kind of bear that in mind when you're choosing one of these cards. You might think, well, I'm not really going to score much for that. And in fact, if you can't score one of those cards, so if you place your token next to one of the cards that you cannot score,
if you have to, because you can't do anything else.
Because you can't, say you've not got 4 chickens, but you've put it next to that, you actually lose 4 points. So because you start the game with a certain number of victory points, I can't remember what it is now, 15 maybe. But you start the game with a certain number of victory points, and you may lose points in the first couple of goes because you can't fulfill those criteria.
The first player has 8 and the second player
has 9.
It is,
you're right. Yes, good thinking.
I was where that came from.
Well done. And so if you can't fulfill those things, you lose points. But you need to remember as well, later on in the game, you will have a lot more of those things that you are able to fulfill. So you might. One of the things is, for instance, chimneys on a villa. So if you're building a villa, you might be thinking, I'm building up quite a few chimneys at the moment, so I won't put my token on that chimney thing, even though I could score it now, because later on it'd be worth a lot more money.
It's like I'm going to take it first.
Yeah, but of course the other person might nick it off you. So so there's a certain amount of that you have to kind of plan ahead and think.
Because also I think there's two cards where one was you lose 4 points because you couldn't do it, but the other card was you gain 8 points because you had enough bread or something. So it's like that's +4. Isn't it? So
absolutely.
It's worth doing it that way.
Yeah, so there are different values of points and so on. So anyway, so you play this game like that, and as I say, once you've kind of completed the board, you've gone through the 4 rounds, you've completed your little area. Around the edge, and you've got to bear this in mind as you're building your area, around the edge there are little sort of scoring bonuses, which basically there's a little arrow and it shows a building type, and if it cuts across one of those buildings or gardens or vineyards or whatever, if it cuts through one of those on your board in a direct line, then you get those bonus points, like 5 points for cutting through a bakery or something like that. It only does it once per row, so if you cut through 2 vineyards across that line, you only score 1 of them. But those are extra points for you to earn, so you've got to remember that as you're building your tiles, sort of laying your tiles and building your area. Tile laying is quite straightforward, the same sort of thing as, say, Carcassonne, where you just make sure that tiles match on the edges. You can't build up onto the edge border with any sort of building or area. You have to have a clean area of grass up against the edges. Fairly straightforward. Again, when you lay a tile on one of the little scrolls, you get victory points, and they're prestige points, aren't they? So again, you move your little counter along the prestige track.
And for each different building you build or complete, you get a little something, don't you? So you might get a bit of bread, or
that's right,
a
little
chicken
chart
for a chicken run, that kind of thing. A vineyard, you get a bit of.
They score as you go along. So the minute you complete a building, then you gain those victory points or that bread or whatever.
So you're kind of thinking, what's on the forum for me to score? Or I need 3 bunches of grapes, so I'll try and get these vineyards on these tiles and try and get the grapes.
The forum is quite interesting actually as well, because the first person to go in the forum is not always necessarily the first person that's been playing in the game. The first person to go in the forum is the person who's in the lead on the prestige track.
I did that quite a lot, didn't I?
You did, I think, every go when we played this review game. So the person furthest up on that gets to go first in the forum, which is quite important actually. So bear that in mind. And the way to get those points are just by claiming those little scrolls off of your building areas. So you kind of have to think a couple of moves in advance, really, don't you?
There's one building there where you have the tiles on next to the forum. There's some tiles laid out, and if you put a green building down, you get to use those tiles.
Yeah. Again, because they're black tiles.
Yeah.
They're black backed tiles.
They're ending.
They're endings. Yeah. So they're quite useful.
Yeah.
And there are some rarer buildings in those black tiles than there are in the white tiles that are in the general drafting area. Because so I think the gold buildings, can't remember what they are now, but those aren't in the main area very much at all, but they're in the black backed tiles. So you're
it's
right.
not a lot to think about, but it's not overwhelming.
It's not at all. And the little kind of cheat sheet card thing that you get, that you put your little counters on in your basket, there's a little cheat sheet there that comes for you, and it's very easy. Yeah, very easy to follow.
Yeah.
Really nice tile laying game.
Yep.
Cuts through. I mean, it says 45 to 75 minutes.
That's very random for
75 minutes. And it's I think we were maybe 45 to an hour playing it, and it's very, very nice game. Very satisfying. The tile laying. I mean, I love the tile laying.
As I say, I don't like a lot of rules at the beginning, and I was a bit kind of, what do you mean? But it's just things. The most overwhelming thing about things was each building you get a different thing.
Yeah.
So you get chickens for this, you get grapes for this.
Well, so you thought that you'd be going back to the rule book quite a lot, but these the little cheat sheets that you get.
For this one, but it's really straightforward.
It is. So again, and when we were laying out, you were saying, "Well, crumbs, what's all this stuff?"
Yeah.
So it felt like there were a lot of articles, lots of bits and bobs.
Make my head hurt.
Yeah.
But again, you use them separately, don't you? You go to the forum at a certain time. You do. It's not overwhelming.
Well, and the fact that you've got the cheat sheet is very, very handy. It's not hard to kind of pick up.
And it's enjoyable to play as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of little things in there. Just something popped into my head there. There's a little fountain that if you if you lay a fountain, you get to choose a fountain card. So again, these little things, and you think, oh, it's too much to remember, but it's not, because it happens live, and you think, oh yeah, that's X. So there's fountain. If you lay a fountain. So that's basically a completed building in one go, a fountain. And you take two of the fountain cards, and you select one of them to keep, and the other one goes on the bottom of the fountain stack. And that will be another kind of scoring
I think that's like 2 points for every building you have, every villa or every garden. Yeah,
so you can kind of think, well, I'm doing quite well in the bakery department or whatever, so I'll keep that. For every bakery you've got, score 2 extra points. I'll keep that. But then later on, if you score another fountain, you can take another 2 fountain cards, and with the one you've already got, look at the one that you want to discard from those 3 then. Yeah. So you kind of...
It's like a secret objective, isn't it?
So you can kind of just keep doing it. So another fountain, you pick another 2, look at what you've got, take away 1.
They're good because they're like private objectives.
Yeah, you don't know about what's happening. Yeah. And again, so there's a couple of buildings like the fountain. There's a bakery and... what was the other thing?
Vineyard.
No, that completes in one go.
Oh, market. Market. That's when you get the fish. No, fish?
Can't remember. It's on the cheat sheet. But so there are some buildings that complete straight away.
The gold, actually, you get gold.
Oh, it is
Maybe
gold.
You get gold.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So gold and bread you can kind of also use for buying out of a shortage of goods. So say, for instance, one of the forum scoring opportunities is you must have 4 fish or chickens or something like that. If you've not got enough of those, you can use gold to replace that. And gold doesn't count for money per se or points. At the end, they buy you prestige points and victory points.
But saying that at the end of the game, total scoring game.
Yeah.
If you've got some fish and chicken left over and gold,
you get half of a point.
If you've got 10 of them, you get 5.
Yeah, that's right.
Prestige points.
So they are worth it if you've got it left over, but they're not worth it as a point scoring thing particularly. But So that's pretty much the way that the game plays. Yeah, I think it's a really good game. Do you want to score first?
Yeah, I really like it. I love the theme. We do love it. I say ancient Rome and all that. Really, really nice. Lovely, really enjoyable to play. I love the little fish and the chicken. Yeah. They're cool. I say most games with rules and components, like, what? But as soon as you start playing it, I was like, yeah, this is cool. Yeah. So I'm going to go for 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Good score. Yeah. Well, I know you liked it. Yeah, I mean, it was quite a surprise to you, wasn't it? Because before it came to the table, as is probably always the way with some of the games.
Okay, I'll play it.
Yeah, because there were so many components, but you know,
and there's no murder mystery. I mean, come on.
Well, I think There was a murder
There was
mystery in Rome,
once
but
some
it's
particular
not in
murder
this
in
not in this
Roman.
game. But yeah, I really really like this game too. The components are lovely. I
It's
mean,
like your Strasser,
I love
isn't it?
yeah very much the board that's laid out. It looks very. I mean, in fact, there are little pictures of gold on the board, and when you're clearing up, you're kind of trying to pick them up off
Yeah.
off the board
Actually
because they look very similar to
actually
the
was,
gold
yeah.
that you get to play
I
with.
was like, Tim, no.
Yeah,
no,
so
don't put that on it.
so it kind of looks very nice. It looks very real, and your little sort of area looks great. The pictures of your tiles and your buildings,
Yep.
all really nice. Everything's really nicely
I
laid
mean,
out.
you like it being all like complicated and lots of things.
I do, yeah.
But it wasn't complicated.
No, not at all. And of course, I like the tile laying stuff. That's
And
great.
like Rome.
And I love Rome.
Win-win-win.
Yeah, so it's almost like a 10 out of 10, isn't it? But I'm going to go for a 9.
No way.
I'm going to go for a 9 on this one.
That's
So
good.
yeah, really, really like it.
Is that 17
so
out of 20?
that's our best score. Yeah, I think.
it?
I think so.
Could be.
Yeah.
What's up there? Yeah.
Yeah, right up there. So
Again,
very,
so
very
it
much
means
like this.
it means our differing tastes. It meets us both in the middle, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does. Well, I mean, theme-wise, is bound to
Theme-wise
anyway, but
and simplicity for me.
Yeah.
Initially, it's not simple, but it is.
It
and
really is.
And it's really enjoyable.
it is a nice game. Nice weight, nice length,
Yeah.
and yeah.
And it's got chickens and fish. Hello.
What's not to like? Okay, so yeah, there we go. So 17, say
17.
17. Great game. Carpe Diem. Seize that day.
The day.
That day.
The day.
Seize it now. Seize it. Caesar. Seize it.
See you later.